Today we're going to be building one of these. It's a birdhouse made out of Maine pine using different components, essentially wood and some neat tools here. It's got some neat features. It's got ventilation along the roof, drains along the bottom. You pull this screw out and this side door opens up. We've got a double entry hole to keep predators out, nothing on the front to keep predators out as well. And this will be a quick DIY on how to build one. This is the design for the birdhouse that we're building. I found it on the internet back in 2003. It's the Chalet by Real Bird Homes at realbirdhomes.com. I don't know if that site exists anymore, but it pretty much has the measurements of 7 inches on the side, 7.5 for the front and the back, 12 inches along the roof, although I actually make mine 10. And it also has a 4.5 by 5 on the base as well. And we'll get it all lined up so we can just cut out all our wood at once. So now I'm going to start marking out my wood. I set my tape measure along here. The first side is at 7 inches, so I'm going to mark that. The second side is also 7, so I mark it at 14. Then the front's going to be 7.5 inches, so we go to 21.5 and make a mark. And then the roof actually comes out of 45 degrees, so what I'm going to do is take my speed square, line it up here, and then go from that line and make an X right here. Swap my square over. I can do the other corner. We'll save this piece because we've got to do those 45 cuts. Until this point, we're pretty much just using the saw up and down. However, we do have to make a 45-degree cut to make the peak of our roof here. So in order to do that, we're going to set our saw over to 45 degrees. And what I'm going to do is line the saw up to cut down the center of the line. Now that we've got that cut, what we'll do is it's easy enough just to swing the saw around and go ahead and cut down the center of these other lines as well. Don't throw these away, we're going to need them. The purposes of these little triangles, why we want to keep them, is when we put our hole in here for the bird, we're actually going to put this piece in front there. So we'll actually have a hole in this piece and a hole in that piece, and we'll have them together. If you plan on using your birdhouse, instead of just having it, to paint it decoratively and keep it in the home, you'll probably need a backing plate. And this is how I actually mount it to a tree or to a post or a building. It's essentially just another piece of pine that's been narrowed a little bit so you can't see it as much, and it's just a random length, and I cut a 45 on top and drill a hole in it. The cut. That's why they call this a speed square, because it is fast and convenient when you're not really being super accurate. And I'm just going to use our saw and cut those little nubs off so we'll have a nice cute point. Another piece of cutting you want to do before you put away your saw is actually on the bottom of it. You want to cut small little 45-degree angles on each corner. These will act as drains and ventilation holes for the bottom of the birdhouse. Next part is figuring out which one's the front, which one's the back. Well, it's really easy to tell. Just take the prettiest one. This one's got a chip in it and a knot, so we'll make this one the back. This one looks pretty solid, so we'll make it the front. Marking where the center of the hole is pretty easy. I just kind of eyeball it. Not quite center from where the peaks are. I go down a little bit, just some. And that's approximately here. So we'll go 2 3/4 as our center, which is right here. And so now we'll drill our hole, or center our hole right there. I built this little jig here, so it sets itself in, but now I can slide it in under my drill, and that way I'm not in harm's way. Almost burnt our way through that one there. This blit is really dull. But now we have hole 2. So now we have all the components of the birdhouse made. We have the front and the back, the double entry hole, we have the sides that are done, the roof, the floor, and our special outside holding brace. Next part, sand everything. Get everything, all these edges cleaned up, all our pencil marks that might remain. I'm going to use a 220 and I'm pretty much just going to sand everything nice and smooth. So I'm going to take a circular saw right here. I'm actually going to rough up this edge right here. That'll give the birds a little bit more traction to get a hold of. Now we start with the construction of the house. We'll start with the front part of the house. Here's the roughed up inside. We'll put this down first. Then we'll take our sides and take a good look at them and figure out, what's the pretty, what side do you want showing outside, what's the prettiest, and that's the prettiest there. And on this one, it looks good either way, so we'll just put it like so. And same with the back of the house. Now we got this knot cut here. Also got that knot right there, so we'll have it look like this, plus I got my drawing there. So now we have the basic block of our house. And I'm going to be using, essentially just a bright finish nail. They don't really have much of a head on them. We'll countersink them when we get them in. But it's pretty basic. Doesn't take a lot. These houses aren't under a lot of stress, so it doesn't really take too much to do it. And so our first one, and this is important, so remember it, we're going to be doing the back left of the house here. So we're going to be doing the side that's facing us. So align the panel as best you can with the back, just like so. And start a nail up top and just make sure everything's nice and square. You're primarily concerned with the bottom connection right here. You want to make sure that's nice. That's on top like so. Take the nail, make sure it drives about in the middle of the side here, and just drive it in. Again, now don't do the other side. We're going to do something special when we attach this side here. But what we want to do is flip it over and continue locking in this wall. Same as before, making sure the bottom corner is nice and straight. Same with the side wall here. And once again, we're going to be putting in 2 nails on each side. Why we wanted to do this part last is because we're going to make a hinge out of the 2 nails that are used here. This door is going to actually have a nail here and here. And it's actually going to be able to swing out, and this will facilitate being able to clean out the any old debris or nest that's in there. You want to make sure the door is lined up just how you want it, because we hopefully want to go through the whole way. That little hole there, I'm going to just take a sheetrock screw over, probably it's at 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, and you can now just easily screw that in there. Now we're ready to put in the bottom of the house. I took the screw back out so I can open this door. You're going to take the bottom of it with its little 4 corners here, slide it in, and we're only going to use 3 nails to actually attach it in there. We're going to use 1 in the front, 1 in the side, and 1 in the back. So I've got my 2 nails. Critical, you want to get this as level as you can with the house, and you want to make sure that the hole here is perfect. You don't want to really have a ridge in here, otherwise you've got to come in here with a rasp and clean it out. You really want this hole to just be the texture of the wood. You don't want the birds getting caught in, because the chickadees or whatever birds you have come in through here will come through that hole quite a bit. So now we have our double entry in there, and it gives it a little bit of, it follows the roof line. We've got our base and all set, so we've got our box pretty much built. Now we just need to get the roof on. Why this is kind of critical is because it's very hard to hammer on this house at an angle. We're not exactly shooting down, so we don't have a good hammering. So you've kind of just got to gauge it lightly before you drive in your first nail. And we'll just have it override like that. And once again, another nail up here. I have it actually go into the other piece of the roof, and then 1 nail back here, and then the same over here. So we have our backer board here, and it's got this little sunspot here, so we'll put this in the back. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to eyeball this one, and you can eyeball it pretty well, and you're just going to set it up so that we can have a top up here, and you're a couple inches off the bottom here. And then just put 2 sheetrock screws just like the one you did for the front door. We've got to put a hole up here. So once again, I'm just going to eyeball it, and it's not hard to do. Just kind of line up with the center of the house, the center of the peak, and go ahead. And with that, we're done. We've got the nose all set, we've got the roof attached, we've got our side here that can open up, get all the access for. We've got that roughed up surface inside for the little birds to be able to get out. And it's all set. It can be finished or it can be used outside.